All right, what is this? Why is this out in front of you? Well, it was only around last year that I realized that Dragon Ball media in North America is severely under-realized compared to the rest of the world, especially when it comes to physical manga. Now, in fairness to Viz Media has likely run the cost benefits analysis. Physical media does not have the same allure here that it did in the early 2000s. And for a major series like Dragon Ball, passionate fans are likely to translate the material that they themselves are unwilling to approach. Thus, more energy can be spent on translating less popular series. But I myself, I've done a decent amount of Spanish through schooling. I wouldn't say that I'm fluent in Spanish, but I'm dangerous enough to actually like read some of these guys, and helps my Spanish in the long run too. And the big thing is that over in Spain, a lot of these volumes that do not currently exist or you can't purchase in the United States, you can actually get, like, physically buy. And this was cool to me because like a lot of the things that people are like, oh, I want to have the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie in its physical edition. A lot of times people have to go to order from Japan and get like the Japanese versions. And I'm not saying that you can't learn how to speak Japanese, but learning Spanish versus when you already know English is a much smaller hill to climb. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. And I started with this Dragon Ball Super Broly film comic, anime comic. Most of these that I've gotten have been published through Planeta Comic. And I love these guys because they have a lot of cool stuff coming out of their publishing house. Essentially in Japan, for every Dragon Ball movie that gets released, it has an accompanying anime comic. And the idea is simple. You just take frames from the movie and put it in comic format. Not the best way to represent the series, but still like pretty cool overall to have like this as like a secondary item. Alongside it, you also get like some pretty cool artwork to go alongside it. The reason I got this guy is because, you know, Dragon Ball Superhero, that actually got a arc in the Dragon Ball Super manga proper. Whereas with Dragon Ball Super Broly, if you remember, they just had like a blur or whatever saying that that's like a story for another time. This is kind of like my companion to that movie that I got. Yeah, so, and the back here, they also have like interviews from people. Toriyama, interview from Tatsuya Nagamine. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this guy if you speak Spanish, or if you're just, you know, looking for something that you want to grab. You don't have to get it in Japanese. You can order these guys right off of Amazon. Another one that I got was the Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga. So it's no surprise why this didn't get published in the United States and America, because the Super Dragon Ball Heroes franchise just isn't as popular. I mean, we got the Switch game, which is in the Dragon Ball Heroes franchise, and that was like the first release over, I think it was in like 2018, around that time period. But other than that, the series primarily just like stuck in Japan. But to be fair, I don't think that the Super Dragon Ball Heroes franchise, like the games, exist in Spain either. I think they just really wanted to publish this guy. I got this one in particular because it kind of introduced Heart as one of the major antagonists of this arc. He's a really cool character, and it's just something that, you know, in the drought of you know, Dragon Ball content, being able to, you know, read this guy, like it's pretty cool. And then additionally, I got the Dragon Ball SD manga. Essentially, it's just a parody comic retelling the events of the series. It's in full color, which I think is really cool. I will say, versus kind of like the more traditional manga, reading something that is a parody that's not in your native language, it's definitely more of a challenge, just because kind of understanding gags and understanding how the jokes are told. And this is a reason why you kind of want a dedicated translator for a lot of these guys, so it can preserve like the intent of the jokes. Overall, still like a really cool volume to like add to my collection. It's definitely like stressing the limits of my like Spanish learning. Now, out of all these, this one is like kind of the weirdest. Obviously, we have the Dragon Ball Super manga in North America. We have like the volumes, but this guy right here is actually the red edition, where it's one chapter in a floppy kind of format. So we had things like this back in the early 2000s that I would get at comic stores, but those kind of died off. But it seems like these still exist in, Spain. And I like this because, you get like this unique cover art. This is pulling from the color versions of the Dragon Ball Super manga. And you also get it in a blown up format that's not typical. You really don't get to get this unless you're reading from like V-Jump magazine, where they're around this size, because the average size of the volumes that we get in North America, they're about this size. So you get a bigger picture, which I think is cool. But it's only until I started reading through this guy that I realized in here they show off the Dragon Ball Full Color series. So in North America, we only got the Saiyan arc through the Cell arc, I'm pretty sure, the end of the Cell arc. Whereas in Spain, they got everything from the first Dragon Ball volume all the way to the end with Buu. So yeah, Biz is really struggling with that. And there's more. I've only just started my collection, but stuff like Neko Majin, for instance, we only got chapter 5, and that was in American Shonen Jump magazine, but there's Spanish editions that you can get of that lets you read it in like a full volume format. There's also the Dragon Ball GT film anime comic, which I think is really cool. It's similar to this Dragon Ball Super Broly version. Yeah, overall, I would just say look into different countries if you're interested in getting a lot of Dragon Ball content that doesn't exist in North America, especially if it's like physical books, because Planeta Comic, they do a really good job of creating Spanish editions. Yeah, that was just a small rambling, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and bye.